Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Latin Business Today Cloud Insights panel for small businesses. I'm Brenda Bazan, and I'm here with a number of experts from technology areas that all intersect with cloud and are very important to understanding cloud relevance to small businesses. I myself was a small business owner, and I've run small businesses and tech startups. And I've often had a lot of questions about how aggressively we should have moved or not moved to cloud applications. So I think I share a lot of the questions that many people who are viewing today will have about transitioning to cloud or not for their business. I am an IBM executive, was for many years, and left IBM about 15 years ago to found some of my own startups and to run some technology companies. Today, I'm an operating partner for a private equity firm that focuses on women-owned, women-led businesses. So in that regard, I meet a lot with small business owners and people who are starting and running small businesses. So now I'd like to go to the panel and have them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what they've done and their background. So let's start with Irving.
Well, I'm Irving Wladawsky-Berger, and like Brenda, I spent time in IBM, a little longer than Brenda's. I joined and retired in 2007. And since then, I've done a few things, but my main activity has been, I've been affiliated with MIT since 2005.
Thank you. Thank you, Irving. Yes, I worked closely with many of the people who worked for Irving, and he was really an icon at IBM. So I'm thrilled to be working with him now after our careers at IBM. Next, Maria, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Maria Villar, and like Brenda and Irving, I'm also an ex-IBMer. I think this is an IBM reunion of some sort. But yes, it's great to be here on the panel. So I was with IBM for about 24 years, left IBM about 15 years ago, and then it's really started on my journey to really be a data professional, a chief data officer at various companies. I was the chief data officer, the first chief data officer for SAP. So I work for SAP America. It is a German-based company, and maybe some of you know it and some of you don't, but we started off about 50 years ago as a very large ERP company, so big software like procurement and supply chain and others. But over the years through acquisition, we've actually acquired many cloud solutions. So SAP has cloud solutions for small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, whether that's in travel, whether that's in HR, whether that's the supply chain. So my experience really in cloud comes from my experience working with customers at SAP. That's what I do today. I got out of the operational role managing data internally, and now I advise customers on how to manage data on their own. And managing data in the cloud is one of the areas that I talk about quite a bit, and why I was so excited to be as part of this panel. And then for me personally, I have a small business. I am my own LLC that where I do some things over and above what I do for SAP. So some of these things I will get and use myself. So that's my background, Brenda.
Thanks, Maria. Yes, Maria and I, our careers intersected at IBM. And for those of you who don't know, IBMers are like family. So, we vacation together, we keep in touch after retirement. We're like one big family. So it's nice. It's nice to
I'm still wearing IBM blue everywhere. I still can't get rid of it. It's my color.
Well, Jean, I also want to give you a chance to talk about your background and some of your intersection with small businesses.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm Jean Bozman. I run my own company, president of Cloud Architects, and that's a market research firm. in Palo Alto, California, known for its incredible proximity to Stanford, actually. I like to say during the pandemic, I could have walked there, but I didn't. Anyway, I run this firm. I do continue my data research, but earlier on in my career, I started out in journalism, then computer systems journalism, worked for Computer World, worked for IDC. I was research vice president at IDC for a number of years and covering the server market worldwide. And my looking at the cloud is really, I'm observing it all the time, writing about it, following the trends, generating some data, collaborating with some others in writing research reports as well. So as far as SMB goes, there certainly was an SMB practice at IDC, and I always paid attention to that. I think one important thing to look at is SMB covers a lot of ground. So it starts quite small, but M's, can go up to several hundred millions of dollars. So the M can be pretty big, bigger than we think, and the S can be pretty small. I think the biggest concern I have in speaking also with SMB owners is the amount of budget and personnel they have in order to tackle this challenge of getting on the cloud and being comfortable with that.
So thank you, Jean. And actually, you've hit on one of the top issues, which is resources. And you're right. It doesn't matter how small in the small you go or how big in the medium you go, that in that growth range, resource constraints are a very big issue. So let's jump right into it. This first section, we're going to really talk about what is cloud. Now, why do we redefine that? Well, cloud has changed a lot. I mean, what it was a few years ago is different, and how it addresses small and medium business is different. So we want to talk a little bit about what is it today and how is it really relevant to me as a small business owner. So Irving, I want to start with you. Tell us what you think cloud is today and how it applies to small businesses.
Very good, Brenda. Before doing that, let me just say something I should have said in my introduction. While you may not be able to tell from my name, I am actually Latin. Español es mi lengua nativa. I was born in Cuba and was there first 15 years of my life, then came to the US and have been immersed in English and so on since then. But actually in 2001, one of the things I'm proudest of, I was named Hispanic Engineer of the Year. So cloud. I've been very involved with the internet. In fact, one of the most exciting jobs I had at IBM is that in 1995, I was asked to organize IBM's internet strategy. I was the general manager of IBM's internet division, and I've been closely following the internet ever since. And I've seen the internet lead to all kinds of very exciting, important initiatives like the mobile internet, the Internet of Things, and so on. And sometimes around 2007 and 2008, I started noticing the ability to be able to not needing to have servers on premise, but be able to access servers over the internet, quote unquote, in the cloud. And I have to say, from that point on, I immediately said to myself, this is going to be a really big deal. That you, in order to do more and more applications and business and on and on and on, instead of having to buy your own hardware, have your own skilled people and so on, over the internet, you can access the cloud.
So Irving, so in the beginning, the cloud meant I could just have somebody else's computer. I didn't have to use my computer. It could just be somebody else's computer.
Yes, and Brenda, the analogy we were all using at the beginning was with electricity, that when electricity first came out, and I wasn't born, even though I'm a little older than all of you, but when it first came out, people needed their own generators, and they needed to do them all by themselves. And then as electric grids started to become much more prevalent, all of a sudden, rather than generating your own electricity, you got it from big infrastructures that generated electricity for everybody, and you got your electricity over the electric grid. And that was the way we explained to people the advantages of cloud. You no longer have to do it yourself unless you want to, but now you can have access to it, use it over the internet, and get going without having to spend money, without having to spend extra time, and so on. I have to say, it took a while for people to get it, but here we are, and from everything we've been reading, it's one of the things that probably due to COVID has now absolutely taken off, because COVID, if it wasn't for the internet and cloud, I think things would have been much, much worse with doing business in the world of COVID.
Absolutely. Now, Jean, I want you to jump in, because obviously back then it was, don't have to have my computer. Somebody else has a computer. But today it's a very different world, because now you're not just buying someone's computer services. You're actually trying to figure out what you need to have done for your business. And can someone else provide that service?
Yeah. I think the opportunity here for small and medium business, and as Irving was introducing all of this, is to be able to leverage and use resources that are on the internet. And here I'm talking about IT resources. Right. You don't have to hire up your own IT staff to get some new services. But the question is, how do I get there? How do I pay for it? Who do I partner with? Who do I trust? Those are the things. And of course, you would have your own probably PCs and other things on your site. But I think the big thing for a small, medium business is thinking carefully about what kind of partners you want to have and who you're going to listen to and who you're going to trust. Because in fact, if you look through Google search, which I did, there are incredible high number of options. And some of these are working with traditional vendors. Some of them are working with pure internet providers. Some of them are working with large software companies, such as SAP, for example. And then there are a lot of business services that are supplied by people we already know. Comcast, Verizon. Now there's one called Lumen, which used to be called something else, CenturyLink. So there's a lot of familiar business providers that you can go to. And I think that may be a comfortable way to start. Don't try to do everything. Try to find out what's available, what the options are, and work with some of these business partners to help you, because you're not going to do this all at once. It's not going to be like flipping a switch. You can say, oh, let me try this application. Let me back up my data. Let me do a few things. And if I'm comfortable, I'm going to do more.
Yes, Maria.
Yeah, if I can add, because just going back to the question of, well, what's different also? In the beginning, the internet used to mean, and getting started mean, get a web page. You know, we all wanted to get, all businesses needed to have a web page. And then we evolved from having a web page to having e-commerce on your web page. But what's happening now is the growth of more and more applications that you can do that in the cloud environment, whether that's an HR application for your human resources, whether that's buying and selling your supplies, not just on an e-commerce site, but on a supplier network. whether that's applications like Qualtrics or others. I mean, so the kinds of applications that you can do now in the cloud are the kinds of things that, you know, all businesses have to do at some point if they get beyond, you know, a few people to scale. And I think that's another key difference of what's happening now in the cloud that's made it so much more popular and relevant than maybe in the very beginning.
And if I could just quickly add, Maria, it turns out that software as a service, which is one of the earlier services that was available as a cloud service, is the largest segment of all cloud services by far. And that's according to IDC, but by far the leading one other than infrastructure as a service and platform as a service and so on. But software as a service is a good way to get your kind of into it a little bit without.
And let me add that one of the things, especially as I wrap my head around cloud at the beginning, that appealed to me was the notion that what cloud really let you do is get services as a service. And Jean mentioned some of them, but let me demystify what that means, which I think is particularly important to do. So if you're a small business, you need to have an accountant, financial services. You may have some accountants on premise in your business, but you may also do business with an accounting firm. And when you are doing business with an accounting firm, you're getting accounting as a service from the accounting firm. Similarly with lawyers. You know, if you are a company, if you're a small company, you probably don't need to have a lawyer working for your company, but you may do business with a legal firm. If you're a large company, you will have some in-house lawyers, but if you do major litigation, you're sued, whatever, you will probably rely on a big legal firm. And the reason this demystifies it for me is that in our world, we are surrounded with services as a service. We just don't notice it because it's so much part of everyday life. Now, at the beginning of IT, just like at the beginning of electricity, you had to do it for yourself or there was no other way to do it. But as technology advanced, as the internet advanced, as Jean said, as more and more software advanced and so on, all of a sudden, a lot of services wasn't worth it for you to do for yourself. So get it from somebody else who does this for a living and devote your energies to running your business. In my mind, that's the essence of cloud.